it's Erica. Welcome back to my channel. It's been a while since I've seen you guys. I was sick with a cold for 2 weeks in April, and I wasn't feeling well at all to film, so I just didn't. But now I'm feeling better, so I'm getting back into the swing of things. Today I'm doing my March and April book haul. I have about 9 or 10 books to show you, so let's just jump right into it. The first book I have here is a paperback copy of Alphas Like Us by Krista and Becca Ritchie. I read this book on my Kindle in March, and I really enjoyed this book. I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Since Krista and Becca Ritchie are my favorite authors, I definitely needed to grab a paperback copy. This book continues the romance of Maximoff Hale and his relationship with his bodyguard named Pharaoh Keen. If you'd like to hear more of my thoughts on this book, I'll link my March wrap-up down below. Next up, I have Theft of Swords by Michael J. Sullivan. This is a bind-up of 2 books in one, and this is the first book in the Ritchie Revelation series, and this is an adult fantasy series. It follows these 2 characters. One of the characters is named Royce Melbourne, who's a skilled thief, and his best friend, Adrian Blackwater, is a mercenary, and they're partners. And these 2 characters are rogues. They're just going about their lives until they're accused of murdering the king. These 2 best friends need to actually find out the mystery of who murdered the king and what actually happened. I've heard that this is a good series to get into if you're just getting into fantasy, particularly adult fantasy, so that's why I picked it up. I originally purchased this book for my uncle since he's also getting into adult fantasy, but since he doesn't like owning books, he gave this book back to me. A lot of people really love this series. It's fast-paced, and I've heard it's a fun fantasy series, so hopefully I like it. I also have Rise of Empire, which is the second book in this series, and this is also a bind-up. I also have the 3rd book called Heir of Novron. My uncle really enjoyed this trilogy, so hopefully I like it as well. I also know that there's a spin-off trilogy that chronicles the events of how the friendship between these 2 rogues formed, so if I like this original trilogy, I'll also read the spin-off trilogy as well. The next book I have here is Red Mars by Stanley Robinson. This is the first book in an adult sci-fi trilogy. I read this book earlier this month, and I didn't really like it that much. I DNF'd it. You'll hear more of my thoughts on this book in my wrap-up. This book just isn't for me, and I know that I'll definitely unhaul it at some point. But I wanted to show you that I purchased it anyway. Next up I have The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. Since I want to get into more fantasy, I thought it would be a good idea to read The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings trilogy, so I picked up this book. I also have The Fellowship of the Ring, the first book in the original trilogy. Now in terms of the other 2 books in this trilogy, I accidentally ordered the mass market paperback of The Two Towers and The Return of the King, so once I realized I made that mistake, I ordered the other 2 in paperback. So the paperback editions of the rest of the trilogy are coming, but they'll be in my May book haul. Next book I have here is Eon by Alison Goodman. This is the first book in a YA fantasy duology. It follows this character named Eon, whose whole life has been concerned with magical study and sword work. Eon wishes to be chosen as the Dragon Eye, and the Dragon Eye is an apprentice to the 12 energy dragons of good fortune. But the thing is, Eon is actually a girl named Iona, who is disguised as a 13-year-old boy. Females in this society are forbidden to use dragon magic, and if anyone discovered her secret, her death would follow. This sounds like an interesting YA fantasy series, so hopefully I like it. I find dragons and magic interesting, so hopefully I like this one. The next book I have here is The Pledge by Kimberly Derting. This is the first book in a YA dystopian trilogy. I mentioned this book in my April TBR, I think. This book follows a girl named Charlena, who lives in a world that's ruled by a cruel monarch. And in this monarch, society is divided into a caste system, and each caste system has their own language. But Charlie is able to understand the language of each caste system, including a new language that a boy named Max speaks. Charlie meets Max at a club one night. As the book progresses, Charlie realizes that she's the key to ending this cruel monarchy, but she's not really sure how to do it. I ended up reading this book earlier this month in April, and I didn't really like it. I gave it 2 stars, but you can hear more of my thoughts in my April wrap-up. Next up, I have Trust by Kylie Scott. This is a YA contemporary standalone. It follows this girl named Edie, who's held hostage at a convenience store robbery. Edie isn't willing to put up with the bullying or snobbery in her private school, so she enrolls in a local public school where she crosses paths with John, the boy who risked his life to save hers. It seems Edie's life is shattered and she's just starting to run wild, but John, on the other hand, is starting to settle down. John is sick of partying and dealing drugs with his older brothers, so he's determined to get straight and start thinking about his future. An unlikely bond forms between Edie and John, and I think a relationship starts blossoming between them. This sounds like a serious and emotional contemporary, and I think I'm really going to like it. Kylie Scott normally writes new adult contemporary and contemporary romance. I'm curious to see what she'll do with a YA contemporary. The final book I wanted to mention is All Systems Red by Martha Wells. I purchased this book on my Kindle earlier this month, and All Systems Red is one of the BookTube SFF Awards nominees. The first book in an adult series of novellas of this robot or sec unit who's in charge of protecting people in his sector. The sec unit isn't like a full robot or like a cyborg that's part human or part machine. A sec unit is an entity all on its own. However, this sec unit isn't really into its job and is just having fun watching reality TV shows. I've heard good things about this series and that it's funny, so hopefully I like this funny adult sci-fi. Those are all of the books in my March and April book haul. Comment down below and tell me what books you've bought recently. I'd love to know. If you want to see more videos from me, I'll put some videos on the screen in case you guys want to check those out. I'll see you guys in my next video.